She announced, "I'm engaged to someone else. We've been seeing each other for months." While still living in my house, I said, "Congratulations to you both." Then I had her escorted out by police that evening and changed every lock and security code. When her fiancé showed up demanding she be let back in, I, 32 male, have been the primary breadwinner for my household for the last 7 years. I work as a senior project manager for a massive civil engineering firm, and 5 years ago, I bought a 4-bedroom house in a quiet, upscale suburb. When my girlfriend lost her job during the pandemic, I didn't hesitate. I told her to move in, take her time to find her passion, and not to worry about a single cent. I paid the mortgage, the utilities, the groceries, her car insurance, and even her health insurance. I was building a future. She was, apparently, building an exit strategy. For the last 6 months, things felt off, but I chalked it up to her stress about being unemployed. She became protective of her phone, started taking girls' trips that I funded, and would stay up until 3 a.m. scrolling. I trusted her. That was my first mistake. My second mistake was thinking that because her name wasn't on the deed, she would at least have the decency to leave quietly when the time came. The explosion happened on a Tuesday. I came home early from a site visit to find her sitting at the mahogany dining table, the one I paid $4,000 for, sipping wine I bought. She didn't look up. She just tapped a diamond ring on the table. It wasn't from me. "I'm engaged," she said. Her voice was flat, devoid of any guilt. "To someone else. We've been seeing each other for months. He's the one, and I'm moving out eventually, but he needs time to get his place ready, so I'll be staying here for the next few weeks." I stood there, still holding my laptop bag. I didn't scream. I didn't do the punched-in-the-gut routine. I just looked at the ring, then at her. "Congratulations to you both," I said. She looked surprised, almost disappointed that I wasn't weeping. "Oh, well, good. I'm glad you're being mature. Just don't make it weird while I'm still in the guest room." "I won't make it weird," I promised. I walked into my office and locked the door. I didn't call a friend. I called my attorney. I also called a local security firm and a private investigator I'd put on retainer 2 weeks ago when I first suspected she was skimming money from our joint household account. See, she thought she was playing a long game. She thought that because she had been living there for years, she had tenant rights that would take months to litigate. She had even told her friends on a recorded line, thanks to the PI, that she was going to bleed me dry for a relocation fee before she moved in with her new guy. What she didn't know was that I had already filed a notice to terminate license 3 weeks prior when I found her hidden journals detailing her affair. Under our state law, since there was no written lease and she paid 0 rent, she was a licensee, not a tenant. I had served the papers via a process server while she was at brunch 2 weeks ago. She had ignored them, thinking they were junk mail or that I was bluffing. The clock had already run out. At 6 p.m., a knock came at the door. It wasn't her fiancé. It was 2 uniformed officers and my locksmith. "What is this?" she demanded, running to the foyer. "You were served 14 days ago," I said, handing the lead officer the proof of service and the deed to the house. "The period to vacate has expired. You are now trespassing. You can't do this. I live here. My clothes are here," she shrieked. Her entitlement was breathtaking. She actually tried to push the officer. "Tell him he has to give me 30 days. "Ma'am," the officer said, his voice like ice, "you were served. This is a legal eviction of a licensee. You have 10 minutes to grab a suitcase, or we take you out in cuffs. Everything else will be moved to a storage unit, and the key will be left at the precinct." She was hysterical. She started throwing things, vases, frames, anything within reach. I stood back and recorded it all on my phone. The officers didn't play around. When she tried to lung at me, they tackled her. She was escorted out in handcuffs, screaming that I was a monster and that her fiancé would destroy me. As the cruiser pulled away, the locksmith got to work. Every exterior lock was replaced with high-grade smart deadbolts. I changed the garage codes, the alarm codes, and even the Wi-Fi password. By 8 p.m., The house was a fortress. That's when the fiancé's truck pulled into my driveway. The truck was a lifted black pickup, the kind of vehicle that screams overcompensation. He hopped out, slamming the door hard enough to rattle my new windows. I recognized him immediately from the PI's photos. He was a local entrepreneur who mostly flipped cars and bragged about passive income on social media. He didn't knock. He pounded on the door with the side of his fist. "Open the hell up. Where is she? I know you called the cops on her." I opened the door, but I didn't step back. I stood in the frame, my arms crossed. "She's at the precinct being processed for trespassing and resisting arrest. You're on private property. Leave." He leaned in, tried to use his height to intimidate me. "Listen, you little pencil pusher. That's her house, too. She's been there for years. We know the law. You can't just toss her out. We're moving her stuff out on our timeline, not yours. Now, give me the new key or I'm kicking this door in." I checked my watch. "You have exactly 60 seconds before the silent alarm I just triggered notifies a patrol car sitting 3 blocks away. And for the record, it's not her house. It never was. I bought this before I met her. I paid every tax bill. I paid for the roof over her head while she was busy spending my money on your cheap dates." He let out a sharp, mocking laugh. "Your money? Bro, she told me she's been consulting for months. She's been paying half the bills. She even put the down payment on my new trailer. She's the one with the bank, not you." That was the first aha moment. I realized she hadn't just cheated on me. She'd been running a massive financial scam. She told him she was a breadwinner and told me she was searching for herself. "Is that what she told you?" I asked, feeling a strange sense of pity for the guy. "Check your facts. She's been skimming from my household account, the one I funded for emergencies. If she gave you a down payment, she gave you stolen money. And guess what? I've already filed a police report for grand larceny." His face went from red to a sickly shade of gray. "You're lying." "Am I?" "Go to the station. Ask her why she's in handcuffs. And while you're at it, ask her about the consulting work. I have her browser history. The only thing she's been consulting is bridal websites and your Instagram." The siren started wailing in the distance. He looked at the house, then at me, then back at the street. He didn't say another word. He jumped back in his truck and peeled out, leaving streaks of rubber on my driveway. The next morning, the entitlement reached a whole new level. I woke up to 23 missed calls from her mother. When I finally answered, it was an apology. "How dare you?" the mother shrieked. "The night in a cell, delicate because of your ego, she spent. You need to go down there, drop the charges, and let her back in to get her things. She needs her designer bags and her jewelry. Now!" "She can have her things," I said calmly. "I hired a professional moving crew this morning. They are packing every single item that doesn't belong to me. It's going to a secure storage unit. I've paid for 1 month. After that, it's her problem. I'll text you the address. Don't call me again." "You're a monster," she yelled. "We're suing you for illegal eviction. Her fiancé's father's a lawyer." "Good," I replied. "I hope he's a criminal defense lawyer, because the audit of my bank accounts just finished. She stole over $48,000 over the last year through reimbursements for fake home repairs and cash withdrawals at casinos. Tell her the DA is going to be very interested in that paper trail." I hung up, but the drama was just beginning. 2 hours later, a process server arrived at my door. They weren't suing me for the house. They were suing me for intentional infliction of emotional distress and claiming a common law marriage interest in the property. In my state, common law marriage doesn't even exist. They were desperate, and they were trying to tie up the house. So I couldn't sell it or move on. They thought they could bully me into a settlement. The preliminary hearing was a masterclass in audacity. She showed up in a conservative tan suit, looking like she was auditioning for a role as a grieving widow instead of serial fraudster. Her fiancé was there too, sitting in the front row, wearing a cheap suit that was bursting at the shoulders, glaring at me like he was the one who had been wronged. Her lawyer, who was indeed the fiancé's father, stood up and gave a speech that belonged in a soap opera. He claimed that I was a domestic tyrant who had used my financial power to keep her in a state of indentured servitude. He argued that because she had performed domestic duties and contributed to the emotional value of the home, she was entitled to a 50% stake in the property's appreciation. I sat at the defense table with my attorney, who was struggling to keep a straight face. When it was our turn, my lawyer didn't give a speech. He just handed a thick binder to the judge and a copy to the opposing counsel. "Your Honor," my lawyer said, "the plaintiff claims she contributed to the household. We have the financial records for the past 5 years. Every utility bill, every grocery receipt, and every mortgage payment came from my client's personal checking account. Furthermore, we have evidence that the plaintiff was not a homemaker. She was a professional embezzler." The judge leaned forward. "Embezzler is a strong word, counselor. We have the bank statements, Your Honor. The plaintiff had access to a joint household. Credit card meant for repairs and groceries. Over the last 18 months, she processed 32 returns at high-end boutiques, having the cash credited to a private PayPal account I didn't know existed. She also fabricated invoices from a handyman, who happens to be her new fiancé, for repairs that were never performed on my house." The fiancé jumped up. "That's a lie. I did work on that dump." "Sit down, Mr. Miller," the judge barked. I looked over at her. She had turned the color of parchment. The common law argument died the moment my lawyer played a clip of her from the PI's footage, filmed at a bar 3 weeks ago. In the video, she's laughing with her fiancé, saying, "He's so stupid. He thinks I'm looking for a job, but I'm just waiting for the market to peak, so I can claim half the house and we can buy that plot in Montana. I've got him convinced I'm the wife in the eyes of the law." The judge didn't even need a recess. He dismissed their emotional distress claim on the spot. He ruled that there was no evidence of a common law marriage or any equitable interest in the property. In fact, he went a step further. He referred the financial records to the district attorney's office for a formal investigation into the fraudulent invoices. As we walked out of the courtroom, the fiancé tried to corner me in the hallway. "You think you won? You just ruined her life. She has nowhere to go." "She has your truck," I said, "and she has that ring. Maybe you can flip it like one of your cars." But the real kicker came a week later. Remember the stolen money she used for his truck's down payment? Since I had filed the police report and the judge had acknowledged the fraud, my insurance company went after the fiancé's assets to recover the stolen funds. Because the money used for the down payment was technically proceeds of crime, the bank initiated a repossession of his precious truck. The entitlement didn't stop, though. She actually had the nerve to send me a long, rambling email 2 nights ago. She said she was willing to forgive me for the eviction if I paid off her credit card debt, so she could start fresh with her new life. She claimed that after everything we shared, I owed her a soft landing. I didn't reply. I forwarded the email to my lawyer to add to the harassment file. The dirty trick happened 3 days before I was set to close a private sale on the house. I had decided to move across the state. The memories in those 4 walls had turned sour, and I wanted a clean slate. My security system alerted my phone at 2:15 a.m. Someone was in the backyard. I didn't call her. I called the police and opened the live feed. It was her and the fiancé. They weren't there to talk. He was carrying a heavy-duty bolt cutter, and she was carrying a gallon of industrial-strength bleach and a canister of gasoline. They were planning to even the score by ruining the hardwood floors and the structural integrity of the place before the final walkthrough. They thought they knew where the cameras were. They didn't know I had installed a secondary, hidden thermal set after the first encounter. I watched on my screen as they broke into the detached garage. They didn't realize that because of the previous threats, the local precinct had authorized a high-priority response from my address. The police arrived in force before they could even unscrew the cap on the gas can. They were caught red-handed inside the structure with accelerants and tools. Because they had crossed the threshold with the intent to commit a felony, arson and felony vandalism, the charges were upgraded to burglary in the 1st degree. In the interrogation room, which my lawyer got me access to the transcripts of later, she tried one last play. She told the detectives that I had invited them over to pick up the rest of her things, and that I was setting them up. The detective simply pointed to the recorded timestamp of the termination of license and the restraining order I'd had served 48 hours prior. "Ma'am," he said, "you're on video breaking a window to enter a property you were legally barred from, and you brought a gas into a furniture pickup?" The fallout was total. The fiancé's father, the lawyer, immediately dropped them as clients to save his own reputation. Without his backing, they had to rely on a public defender. Last month, the court finally handed down the sentences. Because of the clear evidence of premeditated fraud and the attempted arson, she received 3 years in state prison, suspended, to 1 year of actual jail time, followed by 5 years of intensive probation. She was also ordered to pay $52,000 in restitution. The $48,000 she stole plus damages to the garage. The fiancé lost his flipping business because his credit was nuked by the repossession and the felony conviction. He's currently working a minimum wage job, and 50% of his paycheck is being garnished to cover the civil judgment I won against him for conspiracy to commit fraud. I sold the house for $150,000 more than I bought it for. I'm currently sitting on a balcony in a different city, looking at the ocean. I learned a hard lesson. Entitlement is a disease that feeds on kindness. If you don't set boundaries with steel, people will treat your heart like a doormat. Justice wasn't just served. It was delivered via express mail. She wanted a soft landing. But she forgot that when you jump from a bridge of lies, the water is as hard as concrete.